Propaganda week, baby. We've got a lot to talk about that happened at fall camp here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show, presented by such and such. That's Coop. I'm Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway, and gift it. So on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, you know me and Coop's got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about, like the week 1 winners, as well as those that we would consider the week 1 losers. We're going to talk about the games that we're looking forward to the most. And I'm going to toss some chaos scenarios out at Coop, and we'll see how he reacts. So we've got all the good stuff lined up for us here on this Sunday because we're only 4 weeks away. Coop, how's it going, my man?
I like propaganda week. I like this time of the year. And I said beforehand, we got the sun. If you see on the camera, when the sun hit Coop's face on Sunday during our lives, that means we're in football season. So it is inches away, and
that is hilarious.
We have it 11 billion days until game day. It feels like, but it's not that long.
It feels like it, but the good thing is that it's so close. Even though it is yet so far away, it's very close. Those propaganda machines are going. Like I said, a lot of winners, a lot of losers. You're seeing all the highlights populate on all of the social medias. So, no, I'm feeling good, man. Thank y'all for joining us per the norm. Hit, of course, the like button. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. First and foremost, Coop, let's just jump right into it, right? The propaganda machine that is going is the highlights we're seeing from the staff, from the social media team for Oklahoma, all over the social medias. Coop, how you feeling about the initial round of stuff that's flying in our face?
Well, just from a macro all across college football, I haven't seen any whack edits by the Colorado propaganda team with dudes throwing balls that are floating through the entire earth, landing in a touchdown pass. But it's good stuff. They hit pads. What was it today? Yesterday, and so they got through a lot of stuff without pads going on at the beginning. So really, what you want to see up to this point is what is the character? What does the energy feel like from the team? And from everything that I'm seeing, Jay, it looks like the energy is on point. Looks like it's top notch. So it's hard not to get excited.
Yeah, that is kind of the interesting thing is that we've only seen a couple of weird social media edits go out there. Like, for example, Tennessee decided to put out there and blur out the quarterback throwing the ball. I'm going to just, not say much about that. But I did think that was kind of fascinating that, you blur out an interception caught by Colton Hood, former Colorado corner, as you mentioned, former Colorado corner, and that. But to me, your winners right now in fall camp has to go to us, the fans, because we got football in like 3 weeks and 6 days. We actually get to see Oklahoma hit the field at Gaylord Memorial. We get to see the first look at how this team will most likely function against Illinois State. The first half, at least. The first half should be very quick. This should really be like, was it Arkansas State in 23? This actually how this game should feel. It shouldn't be like last year against, what was that? Temple, where it was like 34 to nothing or whatnot. It should be just a blasting within the first quarter, and that's how you feel good. But let's talk positions, though. A lot of the propaganda machine that's churning has shown some really good passes and some really good defense. You saw an interception by Kip Lewis. You saw a reception by Carson Kent and others. Who got your boy excited? Who got you excited, Coop? As you look at the
first and foremost, I'll start ambiguous. Competitive depth is my number one winner. So everybody, do your tip here. But I would start with, and not just because his dad's in here, but Reggie Powers. Yes. Reggie Powers, I'm starting with him. This team is going to have a lot of different looks that they can roll out here this year. You're going to have a very, very, very good mixture of guys. You've got, in the past we've said you've had one or two guys where when he's on the field, what position is he playing? And so this year, starting with Reggie Powers, running out there with RSJ at strong safety, also playing some cheetah. You've got guys like Kendall Daniels who can go from linebacker to cheetah. And then you got guys like Sammy Omasigo, also linebacker to cheetah. So, but Reggie Powers is getting all the roses so far. There's a lot of people that forget from, when he was kind of a late addition, part of the Boganowski, Hardy, Powers. They were kind of the group behind RSJ Bowen and Billy Bowman, last year. And but every single time that you hear somebody mentioned in good spirits, it's Reggie Powers. And so I'm here for it. I mean, obviously, kind of like an extended family member for us. And his dad's been nothing but gracious with with us up to this point. But big winner right there with Reggie Powers and the safety / linebacker / cheetah area.
I like that. That's a good one. I think he is definitely a big winner. We're seeing that he's playing a lot more first team reps. We know Dobie is quote unquote. They're playing cautious with him. They're not playing him as much. I know he's dealing with a combination of the ankle, a little hammy, a little hand, a little kneecap, whatever. It seemed like a lot of things, but they're playing very, very cautious with him, which is a good thing. You need to. I mean, he's coming off that gruesome injury. You want to make sure that he is at the highest level before you truly bring him back. One of my big winners is going to be Isaiah Satania from the Propaganda Machine. Woo. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but that catch he made, it said blink, oh, you miss it? Yeah. The routes he's running, the catches and the area that the ball's being thrown, it feels like no matter where you throw it to, you're going to get Satania to catch that thing. That to me is massive. You need some playmaking receivers like that. And so to me, him and Deion Burks together, once you get him truly at 100, it's gonna be must-see TV. And to me, that's one of the bigger winners that we've seen so far from that.
Let's go to my next one. Number 44, a man on a mission, a guy somewhat forgotten when it came time to the defensive line. It's Taylor Wine. This dude, if you do not know about Taylor Wine's stock, you should probably go check its availability. This is a guy who I think that one of the clips today had Taylor Wine out there, and we'll get to that here shortly. But one of the big things that I think for this defensive line to really maximize what it can be, a lot of people are saying that the defensive line is going to be the best in the SEC, best in the country because of the depth, the depth all the way through. You hear a lot of fan bases chirping back, oh, yeah, well, we got this guy. Well, the thing is this defensive line, I mean, it runs close to double digits deep, to where guys, to where it's not just what I started off with, competitive depth. Sorry, everybody. But championship caliber competitive depth. And that's a continuation, so you don't have to take another one unless you just want to. But Taylor Wine lining up on the other side of R. Mason. There is a good crop of guys, Marvin Jones Jr., Danny Okoye, Taylor Wine. There's a lot of these guys who are going. There's the clip right there. We know Logan Howland has had the capability to play some strong tackle, but I think that he absolutely got just manhandled right there by Wine. He is so dirty, but he is a guy who continues to put in the days, stack the days. And so, to again, where I was going with it is if you want this defensive line to maximize what it can be, I said the pass rush has to be something that approaches the elite style. You got to have those guys not only be able to set the edge, but also to get in and put pressure on the quarterback. And Taylor Wine is having himself, a great opening week of camp.
That's what you want. You want to see some of the young players that you were hoping to see blossom into something, show up and give you a few plays. Like here, you got some Kip Lewis interception. You got some Reggie Powers defense. You want to hear that both sides of the ball have good days. I think that that's the one thing a lot of fans don't get when it comes to how this machine churns. You got to have both sides of the balls have good days. You can't just have one side do everything, or you're going to be upset because that means that the other side's not even offering you an opportunity to even be competitive for the most part. I mean, last year we heard a lot. Defense was dominant. I've heard the defense has been really good on days, and I heard that the offense have come back the next day and caused problems. And so I'm here for the good energy that we're getting out of fall. All right. Out of fall camp so far, but Coop, all right, who you got? Give me who you feel like is your losers from, or do you have a loser for fall camp so far for the first week?
OU, it's for the folks saying, "Oh, you can't compete on the lines of scrimmage." That is my losing squad because let's see here, Fabichi Wewu unable due to personal reason, non-injury. But was unable to be a participant one of the early days of camp, and so who rolls in? None other than Ryan Foje takes a bunch of the first team snaps, and with guys like Ryan Foje and with Fasusi, those guys are they've got a good length of people out in front of them, and I want to say it was Parker. Said it on one of their shows here a couple days ago. I was power washing the driveway earlier today, and so plowing through some good listening content. And it is more likely that you get a chance to see Foje early, Jay, because of what is out in front of Fasusi. Fasusi's going to have to go through guys like Isaiah Autry-Dent. He's going to have to go through Logan Howland. He's going to go through Jacob Sexton in order to, see time in there. Whereas the guard position, you still don't have that, necessity of, just stockpile talent out in front of him. Ozada's still coming back from the shoulder injury. Fabici, being out, that helped him significantly. You've got that is happening. He has stepped up and he has came in EPL. You see him going at it with, I believe, let's see here. There it is. There's RDS telling everybody to get in the pool. Fabici was going up against freshmen and that is EPL going up against freshmen. Guys, the depth is there. The offensive line. You have a massive bevy of snaps, experience, super high-end, early, young talent. And so that's one thing that we went into last year was, almost no experience. It was all based off of projection. And, you just go to see when things come off, get off schedule, you're going to run into a spot to where you need to fall back on experience. And I consider experience. And so, you got plenty of different guys rolling in. There we go. You get plenty of the young guys rolling in. You got plenty of the older guys, rounding back into form. It sounds like your opening offensive line had been Sexton, EPL, Everett, Fabici Wewu, and then Simmons on the outside. Simmons, he's had himself a little ding, a little concussion, so that should be that's per the rumor, per a couple different sources. So hopefully you get him back out there here in a couple days. But he is a guy who has a ton of experience, so he gets just more snaps and more experience, more live bullets for some of the younger kids.
Yeah, that's what you want. And the good thing is if Simmons is dealing with any type of injuries and coming down for a bit, it'll be okay. To me, I say the biggest loser right now is honestly also the fans, because
Doomers.
there's not much to really know the first week. It's so early. So far, knock on wood, the people that have been down are still down for the most part. Nothing like serious, nothing big, nothing small. It's people are gonna, this is a physical game. It's football. So people are going to, unfortunately, get caught up in something, get tripped, get hurt a little bit, get dinged up, because physicality is required. And so that's the most critical piece. But I digress. Some questions, of course, in here. Our Garmani asked the question of what's going on with Hayden Bowen. I'm going to be honest, I ain't heard much about him. I've seen him in videos. I've seen him be out there playing defense. But one of your bigger problem is that if you don't hear anything about someone, we think it's a bad thing. When in all actuality, no news is typically good news. It means that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Like, we aren't hearing anything about Robert Spears-Jennings, but should you? Now, granted, I get that a lot of us feel that we need to hear something about Peyton Bowen, because we haven't got the Peyton Bowen experience that we expected so far. So for some, you're going to hear a lot more players that are lighting it up in a positive way. But for a lot of other ones, truth be told, it's just going to be they're doing what they're supposed to do, and that's it. It's more of a players we've never seen before, a la Jaden Ott, Mateer, the whole wide receiver room. They're doing some stuff. And you're like, oh, man, they're pretty solid. But then when it gets to your traditional players, like, you're not hearing much about Fabichi Wewu outside he missed one day, but he was back like normal the next day. You haven't heard much about Troy Everett at all. He's just, being the starting center right now. That's really about it. Left tackle is Jacob Sexton, and only thing I've heard is that he's a starting left tackle right now, and that Fasusi is fighting for a chance to play. So that's kind of, to me, the losers, is that the people that, not only the fans, but those players that just go out there and do their job every day. Kind of sucks for them, because they're not going to get as hyped as everybody else.
No, and a lot of the times when you hear call outs, sometimes it is for motivation of somebody else. I will say this, UK Danny Akinkumi, got a call out down in SEC Media Days. Had another mention by Brent Venables early. I think maybe it was right after day one. And he has been rotating in with the at the left guard spot too. He's been out there, representing, and he has been hurt a lot too. Now with the from the offensive line standpoint, you got a lot of health. You got a lot of guys that are out there, and you only got so many snaps that you can run in these times. And when it comes time to the media days, they get about an hour, in a 3-hour practice. So there's a lot more that goes out there. When you guys are, hearing things, they're not going to tell us everything, right? Because number one, there's a portion of the, I don't want people contacting our players saying, hey, we hear that you're tearing it up, but you got plenty in front of you. We sure could use a left guard like you. Or there is a lot of opportunity for, you to come play over here if you don't get what you think. Because a lot of these teams will try to plant seeds. But then also, you don't have to give Robert Spears-Jennings a lot of shout out. You don't have to go to Dom Williams and say, hey man, I'm sorry I didn't really shout you out today. Let me get, last year as he came in, you want to make him feel welcome. This year, dude just needs to do his job. And, I tell my kids all the time, you know what, when you do what you're supposed to do, most people aren't going to, throw you a parade. If you do what you're supposed to do, people are just going to say, all right, now give me more. And so you're going to hear some of the shout outs for some of these other folks coming in. But, especially when you have depth, Jay, because when you've got, like I said, a solid 10 guys on the defensive line that, you get excited about day in and day out, it's hard to, focus on that. And Brent Venables is kind of, I think he's learned a little bit at, not going for the 27-minute answer on who stood out today. He wants to just say, hey, we're doing good. Let's keep growing. Let's keep pushing. We want to get better each day. But then every once in a while you'll hear something like a Zion Kearney. Zion Kearney stock also, if you have not started purchasing the Zion Kearney stock, I think Zion's a guy that is starting, what was the one of the write-ups said the consistently most consistent producer out there at at the wide receiver position through these first couple days of camp.
He's a dude that's just doing his job,
Yep.
and he's showing up beautifully, which is what we all expected out of Zion Kearney. We kind of knew that he had star potential in him. He was a top 100 player in the country for a reason. All he needed was some seasoning, and it's never a good thing to throw a whole bunch of freshmen out there on the field at the same time. Just put it that way. And, he had to learn quick, and he's refining his game. Let's just put it that way. And now everybody's noticing that, especially with the loaded wide receiver room. I mean, that's the thing that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration, is that we went out and got, 7 different receivers to add to this roster, Coop? And with the 7, you still got players on the roster you're hoping can, etch their own space in there. And sure enough, you got to wait to see if you get Jaden Gibson back around Michigan or around that time. I think that's what Brent Venables said. He said around the first week of the season. So Illinois State or Michigan. Giovanni has to come back, in which his timetable is on schedule still for first game of the season. But then you've got all the other receivers in that lineup. And so with how much youth you have on top of how many veterans you brought in, Keontez Lewis and, Satania, Sia Martin, etc., you got to see if your current players, your recruits, the ones that you like, have they etched out their space. And Zion Kearney is going to be one, basically, to me. And this is a good question for you, Coop. Me and John talked about this over on Locked On Sooners last week. The coaches that need to have a win. And it really is EJ. EJ needs to prove himself here. Not that he can't, because we know he can recruit. We've seen his ability to recruit. Now the question is his development. When you recruit and bring a player in, can you develop your guys? Zion's one of his dudes. And it sounds like he's starting to live up to expectations.
Zion's another one. You bring up a lot of names. Josiah Martin is a kid who is going to be learning. Back behind Satania and Burks, he's a guy that's going to be out there. Really, really trying to find his footing. This is not a kid who has no experience. He's got lots of experience. And again, you want to be able to have experience out on the field, because if you don't have any experience on the field, then it's all projection. And then what happens is you get all this projection preseason, that's what we're still in. We're still in projection season. This is still a lot of people with early part of the season who are guys that you're hoping become somebody. But you know what? I would rather take a college football experience over projection every day of the week.
Yep. So we'll see. We will see how that goes.
Oh, Jay.
What's up?
I got another winner. We got a kicker. And I think that is something that we really need to point out, because fun fact, Tate Sandell is a lefty.
I love lefty.
And
kickers.
The last time OU won a national championship, they had a fella named Duncan, and he was a lefty. So if you're in for good omens and good juju, that's another one. But I think it was Radosevich talking on their podcast, which was pretty funny, because I guess during the I did not go to the spring festivities, but everybody was lining up out there not hitting field goals. And when you don't, you can't hit it even in just exhibition time, that's not good. So the other day, I guess he went 3 for 3, hit a 50-yarder. That is going to be a big piece, because I know that though I guess you would say the Mike Leach tree that spread tree that Arbuckle is from, they have an affinity for go for it on fourth down. But when you're going to be in a lot of close games, you're going to want a guy who's going to be able to trot out there and just get his job done. And so, one that I do not want everybody to glaze over on, but it sounds like that indeed we do have a kicker.
Kicker is critical. Tay Sendale is going to be that dude because, yeah, that's probably the most important thing out there is your kicker is critical when you're playing, especially in a conference where a lot of games are decided within a touchdown. That field goal that you probably should have taken instead of trying to go for it can usually lead to, W's or L's. I mean, think about it. In the Auburn game, we stopped them on 4th down at goal line. If they kick a field goal, they probably don't feel as much pressure when it's 4th down and 3 and your running back is averaging 5 yards a carry. You decide to throw a pass and it turns into a pick 6 for a touchdown. Those little things right there is what's most important that allows you to relax in some of those scenarios. So having a kicker is a pretty big deal. Thank all of y'all for pulling up. Please hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. Coop. I want to talk awards that we're seeing. We've got watch list, of course. We'll do the watch list first, and then we will talk about games we're excited about this season. But Kip is on the Bronco Nagurski Trophy as well as the Buckus. John Mateer is on the Maxwell Award watch list. Samuel Masigo also on the Buckus Awards list. That surprised me. Not gonna lie. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Jaden Ott, Maxwell watch list. Sandell, you talked about him. He's on the Lou Groza Award. Robert Spears Jennings on the Warfel Trophy. And our punter, Ulrich, is on the Ray Guy watch list. I'm not going to lie, Samuel Masigo one surprised me. 100%. That surprised me. Only because of just how many snaps he's gotten in comparison. But him playing a lot is not a surprise. It's just that he's already being recognized this early. I love it because I think Omasigo is going to be special, personally.
Yeah, I will say this is why sometimes these award lists are a little silly preseason, but you got to have some recognition in the preseason if you want a shot. I think that Danny probably did not win some stuff last year because he wasn't there early, and in some of these awards. But I would say this is I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that there's going to be a lot of guys that play out of their minds on this defense and don't get mentions for the awards because of the lack of the bulk stats. And that goes back to what I said early with guys like Kendall Dolby, Omasigo, Reggie Powers. These guys not having the opportunity to, is he going to be in Cheetah at times? Is he going to be, over at the mic at times? Where's he going to line up? So sometimes those stats actually won't be stacking up for some of these guys like, other people will. Because, what was it? There was a kid at Mississippi State who had like 180 tackles or something like that last year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have that many tackles when your team's, as bad as it is. Right. And so, but, at the same time, because of our offense, Danny had a lot of tackles. But, Sammy was a surprise. Kip, that's not a surprise. Everybody has seen him. He's got the unofficial Iron Bowl victory trophy. He is a guy who, I would put out the question, who is hated more, Baker Mayfield by Ohio State fans or Kip Lewis by the residents of the state of Alabama? Because he crushed a lot of folks' hearts in Alabama last year. But both of these guys, along with Kobe, are going to be all over the place, and they may steal some of this thunder from each other. But I think that with this defense has the capability to be so multiple that the one of the biggest things I hear about the defense, and a lot of people have said, well, can you replace Danny Stutzman being gone? How many times did we hear last year that in big clutch time situations, Danny was over on the sideline and Gabe and Teddy were going, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Because they felt comfortable with this linebacker crew. And Omasigo was forced into a lot of duty with Dolby going down, and so he saw a ton of time. And I don't put it past a Kip Lewis to get a lot of hype, especially with his capability and propensity to make some of these big game-changing plays.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that a lot of people didn't recognize is that they were very, like you said, they were very comfortable with Sammy playing, Kobe playing in some critical games, which is a good thing because why? It leads to this year. Now this year, they've been in those scenarios and they're ready to play and continue to play it out. I'm pretty excited about seeing what Kip and Sammy does together. We all expected John Mateer to be on a minimum of one watch list. He's been talked about heavily by the media. His numbers showed last year that he's someone to keep your eyes out for. Ott getting some Maxwell love is good. I'm expecting him to be on the the Doak Walker Award watch list as well. That's definitely an expectation from him. And I love seeing that Robert Spears Jennings is getting some recognition. He was one of the highest graded safeties in the corner in run defense via PFF. Dude was nails in the run game, and he was really good in the blitz. 3 sacks last season, Coop. It's still crazy to me, those blitzes that were dialed up with him coming up basically in the mug, and as soon as the hike comes, it's like the quarterback didn't even look his direction. Now, they're going to have to this season, which opens it up for an opportunity for a Peyton Bowen, for a Reggie Powers, a Jaden Hardy to steal something off, because they already know about Mike Bokanowski. He's already been talked about enough to where teams are going to look to the side and see him come up to the line, be like, hey, 2 people block him. Don't let him come in here. 2 people, not 1. I need 2 people right there. If not, we've got a problem. So that opposite side's going to get opportunity, because I think that when Robert Spears Jennings walk up to the front, as soon as he gets to that line, teams are going to look at him and be like, hey, man, last year when he was up here like that, he blitzed in and leveled quarterbacks. You saw the sack against Tennessee and he forced the fumble. You saw the hit against Auburn on the first down. That, to me, that was a ballsy. I still go back and rewatch that play often. That was a ballsy call by BV and Zach Alley at that point of, you give up the first down, unfortunately. Then they come out there, hurry up. He comes up to the line quickly, pretends to backpedal, blitz in, and Thorne did not even look. And all you heard was, BAM!
Crack.
He hit the ground. And it was money time. What you needed. I like that with him getting that recognition. Like I said, it's going to open it up for the other dudes on the defense. So let me ask you this, though, Coop. We had this discussion in the court not too long ago. Is there an argument made for Oklahoma having a top 10 linebacker room in the country?
I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, because
yes, you are.
I know that for a fact they have the capability of being that, and it's not close. It's not even it's not a question. I think that your linebacker room has the capability to flow and do good things when the defensive line out in front of them is legit. Now, does Oklahoma have, maybe outside of Kip Lewis in spells last year, does Oklahoma have a top end guy like a Texas does, or like a Penn State does, or a Michigan? No. But do they have the capability, and is it based off of projection for guys like Kobe and Kip and Sammy Kendall Dolby's going to be technically listed as a linebacker hybrid, probably Reggie Powers the same. This team, I think Phil still had them like 11 or 12, like somewhere around there. He's pretty good at those types of deals. But like I said, when you have the opportunity for the defensive line to be as good as the defensive line is going to be, it allows your linebackers to flow freely. And when you have the back end comfort, you can also do a lot of that. So yeah, I fully do think that this is a team that can have a top 10 linebacker unit, and it's not going to be based off of anything outside of make your tackles. That you're going to miss a tackle here or there. It's always going to happen. Somebody's going to do it. Somebody's, it's you could be a Rudy Gobert and end up on a couple of posters, because when people see you in the paint, they're really going to go and try to make a point for themselves. And I think the same thing with this linebacker crew. Danny is gone, but Brent had them in a lot of high-pressure situations with Danny standing on the sideline last year, prepping them for this year. And I think that they got the athletes to absolutely do it.
Yeah, and I guess it's a good question here, Jimmy. Do I think we have a top 10 defense? I think we repeat that easily. And I asked that question to Coop here as people are, wondering if we have a top 10 linebacker room in the country. Phil Steele does believe. He thinks that we're the number 4 linebacker room in college football, behind Texas, Michigan, Notre Dame. He has Pitt right behind us, Penn State. Me, I think depth-wise, I could totally see that argument. I just don't. I'm waiting to see the production to follow behind it. But because Phil has us, he still has us as the best defensive line, 4th-rated linebacker room. He thinks our DBs is where our biggest question is at 20, and that's mainly because of health. I mean, you got Robert Spears-Jennings. Peyton Bowen's missed some time with the turf toe deal, but he's back healthy. Your corners, Eli Bowen's now dealing with an injury, but Gentry Williams was hurt, even though right now he's practicing in the best way, it sounds like. It sounds like he is cooking right now. And so as long as his shoulder holds up, Gentry's going to be another fun one. Only problem with Gentry, though, is this. He likes to hit people. Like, he likes to hit people. And that becomes a problem with someone that with the, shoulder situation.
And I'll say this, is prior to last year, there's a lot of, I guess, recency clouding of truth when it comes time to Gentry. Gentry had not missed a bunch of games prior to last year. He hurt that shoulder at the end of the year. He got a cleanup, which was unsuccessful. And then they finally got the real thing. So Gentry is back in. But I also say this, is you go to projection on guys behind Gentry. You've got other guys, Devon Jordan, potentially the fastest, most explosive athlete on the team. I've heard a lot of talk about. You've seen Kendall Dolby out there playing some outside corner. When that guy was not blitzing, he was covering slot receivers as the cheetah. So he has some coverage capability. Eli will be fine, and he will be back. What we're probably going to say is when you get, when we're talking top 10 defense, this year it is going to be something different than last year. Last year, these teams never got behind. We didn't have a potent enough offense to get a lead in a lot of situations. But we didn't have the corners tested. We didn't have, pass after pass after pass. So a lot of the the passing against the defense came in, 50-50 scenarios.
Yeah.
I really do think that this defensive back room and safeties, these guys are going to have a lot more coverage opportunity this year. But on the other side, I got to say this, Jay, when it was in a very, very evident pass rush situation, which was very, very, very rarely against this defense last year, that bad man RMT showed up a lot and showed up often.
Bad man.
And so I really do think that the defensive line allows a little bit more freedom. There's a lot of good receivers. These guys are going to have to hold up. They're going to have to hold up for 3 or 4 seconds. They're going to have to hold up for 5 seconds at times, But I think this defensive line, more often than not, is not going to allow that massive influx of time to where guys are just going to be running around. Also, I got to say the escapability of some of these runners. You're going to have a guy like Arch Manning who's going to have some capability to move around in the pocket. You're going to have a Lenora Sellers, who is a guy who's going to be able to move around in the pocket. So you do have some, guys like Jacoby Johnson. He's 100% defensive back now. I mean, there's no talk of him coming over to the wide receiver room. He doesn't have to do that. He's taking it more serious. You've got younger guys who are starting to do some more stuff. So I feel good about this cornerback room. I really do. I want to see if you have Eli and Gentry out there as your full-on super healthy starters, you're going to do some damage. But I think early in the season, you're going to need to get some. You're going to need to get some, some help from a Devon Jordan. You're going to need to get some help from Malik Hawkins. You're going to need, Jeremiah Newcomb, a lot of these younger kids, Jacoby Johnson, because those guys. I mean, they're going to try to do some power run, and they're going to put you in a precarious situation to make a tackle early.
No, that's a good point. Okay, thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. Coop, let's look at I love Truth coming here and telling us that their running back room is stacked because they had all those injuries last year. I mean, I think that we could probably say the same thing about some of the stuff we've got going on too. So, but it's a very good point. All I want to see is those Texas running backs. You just want to see them healthy. So I totally agree with you on there. That's basically where we are with some of ours, especially at wide receiver. But I think Ott's going to be one of the better running backs in the SEC. Same thing with Mateer. It's going to be fun because you've got more than 5 or 6 to fight with. That's going to be it's going to be a fun one. But I do think defensive line wise, linebacker wise, going back, the defense should be better. Actually, should be better than it was last year, which is hilarious. I've actually, who was it? Dusty Dvorak, I think, said that today on Oklahoma Breakdown. He thinks that the defense should be actually better than last year. But, Coop, I want to talk about this schedule. We'll get to y'all's fan questions. I've been starring them, so keep those questions coming in, and we'll talk about them. If you want an instant, of course, the Super Chat's always available. But looking at the schedule, though, Coop, what game are you looking forward to the most this season?
I mean, I just want to go ahead and start out with Michigan. I myself believe that this is going to be a game where it is going to be like a prize fight early. You're going to have, just the same as Oklahoma. They had a bunch of guys coming back last year. So kind of the same thing as a Javonte Gibson, Jaden Gibson situation. Like, hey, is he going to come back? I don't see this game being close. I think Oklahoma is going to run away with this one. But I do say that it has a lot to do with the psyche of this football team because you put that game at home. And, Jay, don't know if you knew this, but Oklahoma is a little bit of a warmer environment than Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so those kids are going to be leaving low 80s and coming down into upper 90s in the low hundreds for the heat index. We know it's going to be a night game, but they're going to have to get out there and it's going to be hot, and that's going to be a mental hurdle for them. But you're asking a freshman quarterback in Underwood to come down to Norman, and I just think that what this would do from you go out and you win that game, especially. I still think Texas beats Ohio State week 1. I don't know if Ohio State's going to have the reload that they hope that they can. But you got potentially Texas knocking off Ohio State, then OU knocking off Michigan in week 2. And that conversation of SEC versus Big Ten is going to be a big deal. That's going to be a big deal for just across the country. And for the Big Ten coaches saying that we're taking the SEC model, that doesn't really help them with their narrative. With scheduling cupcakes when the top 2 teams in that league are going to come down and to take losses. But I think what that does for this fan base is going to be absolutely insane because next week you go to Philadelphia, play Temple. Then you come back and it's the fighting, take it easy on the offense, Jackson Arnold's. and then you get a break. So I think that you go out and you win that game. You set yourself up for a nice 5-0 start heading into the Red River.
Daryl, thank you for the $5. We appreciate it. Who do you predict to be our leading receiver this year between Burks, Giovanni Gibson, or young phenom Elijah Thomas? Leading receiver? Zion Kearney. What about you, Coop?
I like what you did there. I really like what you did there. I think that when it's I think that Zion Kearney and Keontez Lewis are two guys that nobody wants to talk about, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on Deion Burks, and a lot of people are going to want to take that away from him. The ability for John Mateer to scramble around and catch some of these outside guys who have more field to work with is going to allow more receiver yards downfield. So I'm not going to argue with you, but right now I think Keontez Lewis is a dark horse for the most catches.
Ooh, I like that. I don't think Keontez is a bad choice. He's one that's been quiet. He's got a lot of experience. He's moved around a lot. And I think he dealt with coaching changes, which led him to go down to Southern Illinois when he was at UCLA as well as Wisconsin. The two coaching changes kind of had him fall out of favor. So get that. And then he finally got his footing back, and now I think he is primed to be that. So that's a good one. That's a good question, Daryl. Appreciate that. Let us know who y'all think is going to be leading receiver in the comments.
And I think that if you saw one of where the guy this Keontez Lewis don't have a CD Lamb type of a situation, you need somebody to. And I mean, because the last time that we really had a slot receiver be the leader was Drake Stoops in 23. And he, I think, was like 982 yards or something like that. I think that he needed like one more catch to get that 1,000. But we haven't had 1,000 since, I think, Mims.
Yeah, it was Mims. Mims was the last one. I don't know if we get one this year, though. That actually is one that's an interesting conversation. Just got to dig into. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know if we'll have 1,000-yarder. It feels like there's going to be a lot of spread out. I don't know if one person takes over, but that's not a bad thing. Having multiple weapons is never a bad thing. If your quarterback puts up a whole bunch of numbers and you have a whole bunch of weapons, that's not a bad thing. It's also not a bad thing if you have one person that gets majority of the stats that your quarterback puts up. So that's also not a bad thing. If you got one dude that's just that dominant, that's a plus. But we'll see. Burks should be Deion. It really should be him or Satania, truth be told. It should be one of those two, but that's an interesting discussion. We're going to dive into that as we go through the position breakdowns in preparation for the season. We'll do that over the next couple of weeks. But when I look at the schedule here, the game that I'm honestly the most excited about, it's not even Michigan for me. It really is the Auburn one. The first SEC game at the crib. I've been looking at it, man, like looking at the schedule. Like what I'm going to do soon is I'm going to go through and look at what the possible record scenarios are for realistic record scenarios for when we face some of these teams. So like going against Auburn, Auburn should come in with no more than one loss. Like there's no excuse for them to have no more than one loss. They play Baylor to start the season off, in which a lot of people are high on Baylor right now, especially with that Dave Aranda defense. They feel like Baylor's defense is probably going to end up being one of the, if not the top defense in the Big 12, which is pretty fascinating to hear. I would have never guessed that about them, but that's the interesting one. But and they finished 8-5 last year, which I'm still pretty surprised they finished 8-5. Would have never guessed that they would have finished 8-5. But Phil still has Baylor as his number one team in the Big 12.
Yeah, and that's all they have, Jay, because they got Ball State and South Alabama after Baylor.
Right afterwards. Right. So that's why I say you're either 3-0 or 2-1. And being 2-1 is not a bad thing for Auburn coming into Norman, but the way you end up 2-1 is the question. Losing to Baylor to start the season, depending on how, that tells us a lot about how Auburn's going to continue. Because the way their schedule is set,
it's
6-6 or 7-5 should be where they're at. Minimum.
They
that should be the floor.
In Norman, in College Station, at home Georgia, Missouri at home, at Arkansas, Kentucky at home, Vandy at the Vandy crib, Mercer in the season, Alabama at home. So they got. I mean, we'll find out. By week 7, we'll kind of know who Auburn is.
We will.
Jay, another one, just to kind of tap in there is, guys. As much as you don't want to say it, the Red River, Texas. Like I said, I still think that there's a chance that Texas goes up and puts takes a W from Ohio State. That's going to be a tough ask for Arch on his first I guess game as the guy. But going into Red River rivalry, I do believe that game day will probably be at OU Michigan.
Should be.
We might see game day at OU Texas too, because if both of those teams go in, I think that both those teams have a chance at the end. OU and Texas will both be in the conversation for the SEC championship. I know that you and I, after show one night, kind of went through the scenarios of what that would look like. There's a lot of questions about in the SEC this year, and a lot of I guess old heads in the SEC, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see OU and Texas in year 2 being two teams that are right there, because that's not good for the Missouris, the Kentuckys, the A&Ms. The South Carolinas to have those two guys come over and already have that much success in the SEC. And so imagine those conversations going out throughout the year that, you're looking at a couple teams with 1 or 2 losses each, and the legacy SEC teams are, it's not like you can trash them because they're in your conference now. And so I'm kind of excited about the OU Texas game this year.
It's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun one, seeing the new quarterbacks and all of that. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that game as well. Auburn's going to be interesting again because of it being so early in the season, but yeah.
And you got Kent State in a bye afterwards, so Auburn's going to get the full attention.
Exactly. You get 2 weeks to kind of prep yourself for that game. So yeah, the Temple travel game is going to be interesting, but no, like you said, the fact that we've got those breaks, you get, you get Kent State, you get bye week Kent State, and then you got Texas. Fun. Texas did not get any favors when it came to their schedule though. Going into that game, bye week before, Sam Houston? Probably should have swapped those out. Sam Houston should have been right at the UTEP.
Well, we'll see. Florida, there's a lot of people wanting to jump on the Florida train right now, but Lagway's still walking around in a boot, Jay, and didn't throw for 6 weeks. Was it 6 weeks after the season? Just did not throw a football. Chose not to have surgery on the shoulder, and their offensive line is going to be good.
He's
really
throwing
good
now. I saw him throwing recently in practice.
Yes, and he, there were some, clips on him. What he had a throwing boot on, and he was throwing. This was in the past 5 days on the sideline. So
this is hilarious.
And I'm just saying, it's hard. It's not like daughter coming into me last night after I took a nap, or yesterday afternoon, took a nap, and then she comes running in and says, "Hey, go play catch with me," and I was scared that I was going to pull something. It's hard that you're, to not throw for a while, and then not to be able to run around for a while, and then to all of a sudden go play elite college football and not hurt something else. And so, but you still got to go down to the Swamp.
Yeah.
Week before.
And they get the crazy thing for them though is they got Lagway playing back-to-back road games. They traveled to the Boot and then they traveled to the U. Back-to-back weeks, and then you get a bye week, which is a good thing.
Yep.
But goodness, then you're at the crib against Texas. That's going to be an interesting one, and of course Texas having the bye week, Sam Houston. So technically, quote unquote, 2 weeks to prep for the Florida game. Then they travel to the Swamp. But I think for them, the thing that intrigued me was 4 straight road games, basically. 4 games not at home. Florida, Red River, and Dallas, which they're technically the home team this year. And then you travel to Kentucky and then Mississippi State, but spending the entire month of October on the road, that's a lot. That is a lot.
And I don't think, and Texas handled them pretty easily last year. But it's just the fact that this is the proof of the SEC schedule. It doesn't matter. Even though that it's at Kentucky, at State, at Florida, and then Red River brings its own, mental, it's like in pitching is if you can throw 80 pitches in one game and it be completely different from 80 in another game. If you throw 80 with nobody on base and there's no high intensity, high tension pitches, that's an easy outing. If you got guys a second and third and every single decision is broken down, that's tough. And that's the difference between the SEC and the Big 12 is because, even though it's Kentucky, even though it's Michigan State, even though Mississippi State, and then even though it's Vandy, you got to have your game. Vandy already showed that they can play around and do some scary things. Now, do I think Vandy beats Texas? No. But do I think that you can overlook that game with the hope that, you're taking a breath before the bye and getting Georgia? No, I think you still have to give Vandy 100% of your attention.
Vandy's going to be a fun team to watch this year. Diego Pavia was a king at SEC Media Days. He is one that I'm ready to see what they can actually pull off, because for them, this schedule of traveling to Vatech and then South Carolina in back-to-back weeks, geez Louise. Couple of cupcakes to end September, and you start October in Alabama, Tuscaloosa. You get your bye week, and then you've got back-to-back home games with LSU, Missouri. They could be 3-3 to start the year. They could be 4-2. They could be 5-1. Truth be told, Pavia could have them doing some stuff that we don't expect. Because that to me is a lot.
And hey, listen, we say it about Mateer being in the building. He's the de facto leader and the pulse of this team. 100%. It is undeniable right now that he is the ring leader, and that takes a lot of team cohesion for the offense to be an embarrassment last year, and just and the defense to be the only reason why that you got any respectability about yourself. For you to start off camp with a new face coming in and being that. And that's the same thing that happens with Pavia. Pavia's got his head coach believing, he's got his teammates believing that they just got to approach it from the proper mindset, and they're going to be playing for an SEC championship and playoffs or an opportunity. Do I believe it? No, I don't believe it. Do I believe that Diego Pavia gives them a fighting chance in every game that they play? I do.
I think he can carry them very far, a lot farther than people want to admit to it, to be honest. So I agree.
I just really think that when you got a quarterback who, and again, that's based off of what he has done, not what he's projected to do, what he has done. And Diego Pavia went out and beat Alabama. He did some really, really good things last year, and it's not like it was freak. There weren't freak plays going left and right. Like, he went out and took it to Alabama, and it was a good game. Now, I mean, did he follow it up with other spectacular pieces? No, but
Not so
think
much.
this year they are going to have that belief, and it's going to get tested right from the get.
No, you're right. Okay, let's see. Let's get to some of these questions that we've got from the people. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. Lane asked about Eli Bowen. BV said beginning of the season. So if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Temple. Because to me, I would love for him to be in the Michigan game, but Michigan's probably going to run the ball a lot for the most part. Now, granted, Chip Lindsey being the OC and everything that's swirling around Michigan right now, there's a good chance Sharon Moore doesn't even coach in that game. Like, I know he's set himself up to coach games 1 and 2, be suspended games 3 and 4, and then be back to normal game 5 forward. If all the crazy-ish comes back, I expect them to do a lot of running. What about you, Coop?
Yeah, it's the same thing with the health and tackling, and he ended up breaking his leg. And so, here's my thing: is if you have to play guys, play a Jacoby Johnson, maybe have somebody over there to where Gentry's not making those types of tackles. You're going to have to play. I mean, I got to take it from a Brent Venable standpoint. If you're going to survive the SEC, you're going to have to make tackles, and that's going to absolutely have to be it. They're going to run more of a spread offense at Michigan, and so I would just say this is, if you want to run Eli Bowen out there for 10, 15 snaps against Michigan, I wouldn't be against it. But do I think that it's going to be Temple? I think he's probably going to have 2 weeks where he misses.
Yeah, to me, it's legit. I'm thinking if you probably bring him back Temple to get him warmed up. Not really to have to play, but it's get him warmed up in preparation for the Auburn game. Jay asked a question about when do we expect a depth chart? I'm going to say the week of Illinois State. Probably that Monday.
I was going to say Tuesday the 27th.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's probably what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot more. You're going to hear scrimmages, who the first offensive line group was. But I will say this, guys, just in general, don't get too caught up on who the depth chart of the starters are. We saw that last year with the oars. You're going to see a lot of oars this year, and that's not anything to shot at the fans. That's gamesmanship towards the coaching staffs, just as much as anything. I think that as long as there's not a major NIL implication going on with it, I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of oars. You're going to see a situation where at strong safety, you're going to see, Peyton Bowen or Reggie Powers or, Hardy. And, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of oars. And so Tuesday before game 1, which the game 1 in college football, Jay, is only... What is that? It's on the 23rd. It's 20 days away.
20 days away. So that's week 0?
Yeah.
Why do they call it week 0? I think that's the one thing that annoys me. Like, why are we even here with the week 0 conversation? We shouldn't have
It's like from what's Ocean's 13. It's the soft opening. So
I hate it. If there's one thing that annoys me, is that ish, but I don't know. That's it. Jimmy asked the question: Do you think Oklahoma will have a top 10 defense? I do. I think raw numbers wise, we're going up against a bunch of teams that have a lot of changes, not a lot of incumbents, And to me, that's beneficial to a defense that's returning a majority of the players. Like Auburn doesn't have Jaquez Hunter. Is their running backs bad? No, but they don't have Hunter. And I think Hunter was one of the best running backs that did this job. He was good.
He was good.
He was good.
I mean, it's top to bottom. You have so many questions, and I think that's where a lot of the confidence in folks around Oklahoma, not just in around the people who are covering like us, is there's not incumbent teams out there. We see the guys fighting about Ohio State. Ohio State loses both the coordinators. They lost Will Howard. They lost a lot. Now, if you think that they're going to be weaker at wide receiver, you haven't been paying attention for the past decade. But
there's one position I don't think they're going to be bad at is that, dude. I was playing college football 26 a couple minutes ago, one of my son's friends, and he was killing me with Tate. I just couldn't do anything about it. He didn't even have Smith doing anything. It was just Tate eating me alive.
And I have OU at 10-2. I'm still there, and my prediction is getting more positive for OU rather than going back the other way. But when you look up and down across the board, LSU, you lose a ton on defense, and you lost two of the best offensive linemen in the country. And that was the thing that they could really, really overcome a lot with was that. Texas loses a lot of the maybe the best offensive line that they've had in 10+ years. Major, I think, is the biggest loss. Banks is a big loss, but they had a guy step in for them.
Was
Arch
pretty
Manning,
solid. Yeah.
Arch Manning still has never thrown for more than 2,509 yards. And the last time that he started a meaningful game, dude threw for 60 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So that's a lot of projection right now. And if you want to get excited about what he did against Mississippi State and Louisiana Monroe, have at it. Be excited. But there's a lot to ask that young man in year one to go out and do all the stuff that they're putting on his shoulders. There's just no team right now across the entire – I mean, maybe Clemson has the most what you brought back and progression over everybody.
Have a lot. Clemson does. I mean, we've seen the height of Klubnik. We've seen the lows. But, they brought back a lot of good pieces for him. And that defensive line is going to be fun to watch. Our boy Monty, we're on the streets. Guillory is going to be hard to keep off the field at corner. Yep. Lots of Cortland Guillory talk. Lots. I've actually heard some Newcomb as Jeremiah Newcomb as well as Devon Jordan as well. But Cortland Guillory is the true freshman that they're like, bank on him finding a way on the field. He's one that I'm like, okay, give me, because he's a bigger corner. He likes to hit, and that's what I like. And then Jimmy, of course, had about Giovanni. I think he's out the boot. That's what we know. He's out the boot. Yeah. I saw the pictures of him walking around. It sounds like he's going through individual drills, probably by himself, him and Jaden. We're just waiting for them to be able to get cleared for contact.
Yeah, July 1st, he was out of the boot. It's 4 to 6 weeks out of the boot. You get to go into get ready rehab. And so that'd be the 28th through the 10th of August. So maybe a week from today, he's out there running around with weight on, with some pads on. I don't think that he is going to be taking any type of contact till probably the last week of the season. And then you're going to want to run him out there and see, because, I mean, if you look at what he looks like physically, he looks a lot like Terrell Owens, when he was in college.
That's a good point. All right. We're going to get out of here. Another fun Sunday hanging out with you all. We will get back to probably twice a week sometime this month as more practice propaganda is popping up. I know the team had the day off today. Tomorrow we'll get back to it. Pads on, and we'll wait to see and knock on wood that nothing bad happens. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the other videos coming down. I'm gonna be breaking down the weight of the players going into this season. So there's a lot of weight change that happened from spring into The fall, which the weight recent ones we had is July 8th. It's from the July 31st roster. July 8th is when the weight came in. But we'll get the final weights at the end of August when the final depth chart comes. So, from Coop, from Jay, we'll chop it up with each and every single one of you in a couple days. Peace.